to the Word of God that you came here to share with me. I'm here to teach something special, just to share with you something which is incredible here that is talking about God, secret, and the hidden things of God, and what God is gonna do into somebody's life through the other side of the spiritual world, which everyone want to know. Everyone want to travel by the Spirit and know the secret of God and how the power of God can manifest into somebody's life. So my topic, as you have written, my topic is talking about the remits of revelation, creation, and mysteries of the spiritual world. Okay, I want to start here that it says there are remits of revelation of the spiritual world that God has placed in this life. There are many ever. There are many. There are many remits of revelation of the spiritual world that God has placed in this life, which we don't know. Our ability to know God while in the physical world is several remits by our material world, and the inferiority of our faculties, which many people they just think that the God just created these things like the earth and heaven. I mean, what is visible in the physical realm, but we don't know that God also created what is also in the spiritual world. So gonna experience like I'm gonna tell you what is the other word of God, that how it is. Okay, let us continue here. That is, we are allowed to understand our past and discover our future destinies. But if we talk like on the other side, like you said, everyone want to discover their futures, like when we come to prophecies and all these things. But how can you discover if you don't know? The spiritual eyes did not yet see the light. There is nothing, there is no way you can experience these things if you did not yet receive the spiritual right, which is coming from God's glory, which is coming from the throne of God, which is coming from heaven. You know, everybody say that maybe when people they're preaching, when we go to the book of Genesis, if I take you to the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, that it says that the time, let me just take you there, then I'll just read for you one scripture there so that we should continue. I hope somebody's gonna understand today. You're going to be blessed. It says like this. First Genesis chapter 1 verse 2. It says, now the earth was formless and empty darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was havoking over the waters. So meaning the Spirit of God was havoking over the waters. Then I take you again to Genesis chapter 1. Then go to verse 3. It says, and God said, let there be light. But which this light, the light of God that emanates through the object, it doesn't come from any light that has been formed of the object. So this one is what the men of God is using, and the children of God, what they need. But all of them, we are failing to receive. We have the light. Once we receive Christ Jesus, you have the light. So the light that has been mentioned here, it is not the light that has been formed with an object like a light, a bulb, electricity, or three-dimensional we have, but God does not exist there. So that is why God appeared through the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit, which you call it the anointing. Are you getting it? They are responsible. Created, we always think of existence in terms of time and space and energy. Those who try to define God by these limits are attempting to describe God from the human point of view. Try to imagine a dimension where time does not exist, space does not exist, and energy does not exist. Space does not exist, and energy does not exist. Air, you can't see air, but you can feel. We can only feel. In the spirit, somebody can feel, but you cannot see. I'm seeing air, but you say, I feel. Or you smell. You smell only the smell what is smell. So there are two different things that I'm describing here for somebody. Okay, then we come in. It says, and at the same time contains of times all of the space and all the energy. The whole spiritual and physical universe created by God with all its life and inhabitants exist within time, space, and energy. Although the substance of spiritual time, spiritual space, and a spiritual energy is beyond the physical manifestation of the physical linear time, space, and linear energy. I want to continue. Just listen to me very well. When God first created, He spoke and the spiritual light came into being. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, which I go to the Bible and I read it, that it says, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. So, what I'm talking about is not the light that been formed of object. Let us continue. This light was not just natural light that been photons, like let me say, been formed in photons. Like let me say, a bulb is something that it shows the photons. It's a spiritual light. It is not the light that you see. The light that is the light. It's a spiritual light that can never be seen. It's invisible light that is in the spiritual realm. That it can only light in the darkness where there is darkness. Are you getting me? That is why there is a scripture again I remember in the Bible that it says, let your light shine in the darkness in the world. May your light shine in the darkness. This is the light that we mentioned, because that light that you have that is inside you, child of God, is a light that was from the throne of God. Then we continue here, it says again, but it is not spiritual substance that cannot be seen or measured in the physical world. Natural light is only a mere natural attribute of the formation of stars and the suns and other lights that we call it from the solar systems, like stars and the bulb and all these people they brought up like electricity. Some of them they use candles, some of them they use matches. Are you getting me what I mean? We are not talking about this light. This original spiritual light contains the substance of time and space and energy. In the spiritual realm there is energy, there is time. You know, as we use we use this solar system time, but there is a spiritual time, which is the time of God. Our time is not the time of God. That is why we pray as a child of God. We pray. Some of the saints they pray that they think maybe nothing is taking place, but there is a spiritual time, which is the time of God. Our time is not the time of God. Everyone need to understand these things. Okay, let us continue. Then it says here, I think everybody is getting me what I mean here. There is a difference between spiritual time, spiritual space, and spiritual energy and physical time. Physical space and physical energy. Physical time is linear and measured by vibration or movement of atoms or the rotation of the heavenly bodies. We have the rotation of the earth. We have the rotation of the human bodies, which any direction everybody can face. That is the rotation. Or when you lay down, that is the rotation that you've been rotated. You rotated yourself or something like this. These are rotation that I'm talking about here. So we have the physical time is linear and measured by vibration. It's been measured by what? The vibration, which is the gravity, the or movement of atoms, the gravity of the surface of the earth, or the atoms in the spiritual realm. Are you getting me? So then we come here. Physical space. The physical space is linear and measured by physical distance. Physical and measured by physical distance. You can only measure it with kilometers, like a distance. You say, if I send you to a place, you can say, yeah, there is a distance from here, there is a distance to there. That is a distance, a space that it can be measured. It can only be measured in the physical space. Are you getting me? Rim that you can see is something that you can see, but we have a spiritual space, which is galaxies, that from here to the glory, to the throne of God, which you can't measure. You can't measure that. You say there's how many cases from there. You can't measure that. It's something which is not existed. Are you getting me? So then we come here again. Then we come here. Physical energy is linear and measured by velocity or frequencies or vibration. In order to understand spiritual concept, we need to understand that there is also psychological time. There is psychological time. Psychological time is your time. The time that you are into is not the time of God, of the solar system, but it's a time of the human being. Which time are you into? Are you into the time of suffering? Are you in the time of celebrating? Are you in the time of prayers, of seasoning, like constant prayers? When we are talking constant prayers, prayer without seasoning, serious prayers, what is your time? This is the time that we are talking about. Psychological, not psychological, the psychological time, where even can seem short or long based on our interest, is the interest in the time that you're into. Are you getting me? Some of the people, when not everyone that is in the mood of prayers, their prayers are short. That is their time. Their time of celebrating, their time of enjoying, their time of serving God, their time of mourning. Everybody is in his own time. It's not the time of God. It's not the time of solar system time that I'm saying now is 5 o'clock. It's not the time of God, but it's in the time of the child of God. It's the time of the human being, which time you are into now. Okay. Then we come here. Well, even can seem short or long based on our interest. Psychological space, we have the psychological space where distance can seem short or long based on our awareness, in your own awareness. If there is something, let me say, you feel like you are no longer far, but you are near in the spiritual realm. There are times you pray, but you feel like God is hearing your prayers. There are times you pray, but it's like you've been locked in the dark room. It's like you're meeting the beast, you're meeting the devil. Those are what? These are the spiritual distance that you can feel like you can feel like you're near or you're far away from your breakthrough. All these things. And it's a logical movement, or when it seems to be moving, even if another object of our attention is the one that moves backwards or forward. All the rivers where something else seems to be moving, like the sun around earth, when it's actually we go move. The spiritual concept of time, the spiritual concept of time, space and energy is similar to the psychological concept of time, space and energy. The spiritual world experiences time through event. The spiritual world experience time through event. There is an event that takes place. Are you getting me? Which is we are talking about. The spiritual concept of time, space, and energy is similar to the psychological space and energy. The spiritual world experience time through event. Time through event is like maybe time of prayers. There is an event that you need to take. Are you getting me what I mean? So now here, then we come here. I bring you here that it says that's what I want to do something here. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you, just want to open your eyes on something that you never experienced these things. Okay, here we are talking about spiritual space through thoughts and spiritual energy through the spirit life vibrating or pulsating from the spirit heart. We have the spiritual world, experience time through event, experience space through thoughts. Experiencing through thoughts, your thoughts. There are two desires that God has allowed us to be. It's either evil desire or either good desire. And now there is space that takes place there to the evil desire or the goodness desire. Let me flow here. Let me continue. We come here that it says, okay, then it says, as I said, the experience space through thoughts and experiences energy through the spiritual life vibrating or pursuing from the spirit heart, which has its life origin from God. All of the spiritual universe are still experiencing the concept of time, space, and life, but not in the same limited either manner. The soul area of man interact with an emotional world created to experience all the fullness of the dimension of space, time, space, and energy. You know, the creation of mind always is full of we are talking about, I mean, the thoughts, the mind of somebody is full of like time, space, and energy which is coming from the throne of God. We will not be limited or dominated by this dimension, but rather than learn to manipulate and dominate over them. You know, some people, they're suffering, but actually we don't know how to live a good life. A good life to live is when you are open to the dimensions which I'm teaching you now. The spiritual dimension is when a human being can never be suffered. You can't suffer when you are into this dimension. You can't suffer. You need to live a spiritual life, not a physical life that every human being that they live to. Are you hearing me? So then we come here. When we are freed from our physical body being, we are able to grow and learn to progress in our domination over this three dimensions of God creation. I told you we have three dimensions. When we are, let me repeat it, what it says again. It says it like this. When we are freed from our physical body and become spirit being, we ought to grow and learn to progress in our domination over this three dimension of God's creation. Allow his children to suffer. But the children of God, we are failing to study the word of God. We are failing to study the mind of God. Are you getting? That is why God wants us to dominate, to take over. You know the reason why Satan is here on earth. Satan, the mission of Satan is not here to destroy, to kill you. But here on earth is just to distract the children of God, to make the children of God to suffer, not to dominate what God has put in them. There is a gift inside you. There is a gift that God prays inside you. But the devil is blocking you, doesn't want the gift to manifest. He doesn't want either you to celebrate in life. He just wants you to suffer because you are failing to understand these three dimensions. You are failing to come out and receive the light that is coming from the spiritual world of God. What you need. Then we continue here. Even now, we have a measure of the power of the age to come that is coming from the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verse 5. Let me just go there for a minute. Just remain connected with this one. Is a powerful teaching. Somebody is about to be touched now. God is about to visit somebody. Okay, I'm in the book of Hebrews chapter 6. Let me go to chapter 6. Hebrews chapter 6 verse 5. Let me read it in the name of Jesus. It says, "We have tested the goodness of the word of God and the power of the coming age." Are you getting me? It says this. Let me repeat it again. "Who have tasted the goodness of the word and the power of the coming age." So meaning we already need to test. The will of God is there to test the coming of age. Are you getting me? This is, even now we have a measure of the power. So there is a power. There is a thirst. the coming of the age to come. Are you getting me? Consciousness is like the frequency of emotion or energy aspect. The will is like the proportion or space aspect. And feelings are like the time aspect. Okay, are you getting me what I mean? I'm talking about something that you need to understand. Then we come here, we have the frequency. We have in the frequency, these are it shows like a spiritual dimension of time, space, and energy. In time, there is an event that flow. So, mind the time, how you use time, never wasted time. There is an event, anything that you are, whatsoever that you are busy doing now, it's either you are reading the word or that's why they say, children of God, you need to be in the spirit, don't waste time. So, there is time, event that flow. There is an event and there is a flow. What are you busy with? And then we come here, space, shape, and form. There is always in this what space that you are into. You need to feel yourself. Your aura, inside you, there is an aura, you're growing. It needs always to live in this space, shape, and form that it need to be formed in the spiritual realm. Are you getting me? The energy. There is energy, the power. This one is the power. A child of God is like a man of God. And it's not only man of God, it's everyone that is need to receive the spiritual world. You have to have the energy that is coming from the throne of God, which is the vibration of the anointing, which we call it power. Are you getting me what I mean? Then we come here that is talking about the consciousness, which is wisdom and understanding, thoughts, knowledge. Because you can't get this book and you lack what? You need to fill yourself always. You need to fill yourself always with the word of God. So the understanding will appear. Visions and visionaries, you're going to appear. God is going to minister to you. So there is life in this word, which you don't want to read. So the understanding, it will only come after somebody speak to this. It's when the understanding and the wisdom, it will appear to a human being from the throne of God, from his throne. Are you getting me? It is possible for a spiritual experiences to last only 1 minute, but like 6 weeks. Are you getting me? It's impossible for spiritual experiences to last only 1 minute, but be like 6 weeks. Can it be like existed like a spiritual world? You know, some of the people, they dream of many things. Will dream of things. Like you say, I just dream of angels. Or I dream of somebody just praying for me. That one was not the person that was praying for you. It was the dimension from these three dimensions that they come down just to deliver you and to correct all the mistakes. Some of the people been delivered through dreams. Not by the men of God, not by anybody. But it was from these 3 dimensions that they visit you. That they are coming from the throne of God. That is why God is the one who is monitoring the whole earth. He's the one who is patrolling all the children of God here. So the children of God, they need to understand that when they dream dreams, there are dreams that you can never even interpret it. It requires wisdom. It requires the Holy Spirit to interpret such dreams. Such understandable, it's coming from here. The consciousness, where you get wisdom, understanding thoughts, and acknowledge. You have to have the acknowledge of the interpretation of dreams. I want to continue just to tell you. All for spiritual experience to be like a few minutes, but its physical last for 1 whole earth week. The physical earth measures linear time by atom and the revolution of the earth around the sun. Spiritual time can be shortened or lengthened, and it received its powers, life from the very throne of God, which created time. They say what? The physical earth measured linear time by atom. So meaning there is the spiritual earth that measure what? It measures linear time by atom and revolution of the earth around the sun. Whatsoever that is around the sun. The spiritual time can be shortened. The spiritual time can be shortened or lengthened. And it receive its powers, life, from the very throne of God. It's emanates from the throne of God, which created time. Meaning God is the one who created time. Are you getting me? Spiritual distance, which are millions of light years, when measured by earthly scales, can be transversed in a fleeting thought, but the distance can be spiritual felt. So there is no way you can measure the light of God. But the physical light, you can measure the distance, like a torch. A torch can go just, let me say, it can just go maybe 1 kilometer, but you can't see the light clear. On the other side, let me say somebody's standing a distance, then you light the light of the what? The light of the car. You put on, you turn on your light. Can somebody really measure and can it go a distance? That light, it will only go, let me say, some meters. So it's impossible. But the light of God is a light that can never be measured, but it can only be felt that, oh, there is light of God here. That is why a man who has the spirit of prophecy is seen with the light, the spiritual light that emanates from the throne of God, which a lot of people, they don't understand. These things is the things that you have to know. Okay, then we continue here. This one, it can, then we say, spiritual, it said, by the density of the spiritual materiality of each sphere, the different spiritual sphere also contain different degrees of spiritual energy, which the highest sphere containing the greatness, persuasions, life. Because of the different degrees in the which sphere vibrate with the energy of spiritual life, those of the lower sphere cannot see the higher sphere, nor live in them until their internal spiritual life grows to the same degree of life or growing. You find in the church we have people, those who can pray. You can pray, with babies, with people, those who are mature in the spirit. That is why angels, when people, let me say, why does people fall in church? Why does people fall in church? The power, the light, when it shows in the dimension, somebody who is in the lowest, who is living, who is living in the lowest dimension, is somebody who can never experience. It's like somebody is trying to control the power, but it can't control it very well. They have to fall. Because the hour is not yet that much strong. It needs spiritual food to be feeded. Are you getting it? You need to feed something until it grows. Until it grows. So when we come here again, in a similar way, in which we cannot see the blaze of the fire. But there are some colors again that we don't. Even in the physical, in psychology, you can't give the name. There are some objects in the spiritual which you can't give the name. You can't even describe what is the what can I see? I think it's something that you can't see, and it's something that you need. The physical material of the lowest life. The physical material, everything that is physical is of the lowest life, the lowest frequency of the world. Is the It was something nice or something looking. I understand it. But in the spiritual realm, there are some beautiful things that small angels, shorter ones, little ones, and huge angels, which they are archangels that you have to know also. Then I come in. Okay. Then it says, like a heavy condensation of the spiritual substance of spiritual life. For lack of better word, I would need to use the word astra. Astra is a form of like a transportation. We are talking about transportation. We have the ethereal. Ethereal is where children of God actually they travel. Astra, mostly witches and all these demons, how they travel, how people they live their body, their soul, they travel by astra. You need to understand these things. Then we come in, hereby defined as the ring between the spiritual and the material to describe some mysteries of the material creation from the spiritual substance of the spiritual life that came forth in God's original creation. Spiritual matter is first form. Spiritual matter first is form. Before you pray, before you say something, you know, the reason, do you really know the reason why we pray? The reason why we pray, we create things in the spiritual realm. It's like you're building something. As I'm teaching you like this, I'm creating and I'm bringing your mind. You have to understand. That is why a lot of people, those who praise, like you are praying and or you are worshiping the Lord, or you are just doing something in the house of the Lord, and your mind is somewhere else. It's like you are not building. You are not doing anything. So that is why when you pray, we believe that it is already done. Before I pray for miracle money, or before I pray for somebody, I already believe that this person is healed. It's like before it appeared, it was already in the spiritual realm. Healing before it take place in the physical realm, it was in the spiritual realm. And here we come in. Let me come here. From the spiritual substance of the spiritual life that came forth in God's original creation. Spiritual matter is first form. Spiritual matter is the one first its form. Am I talking to somebody there? Okay. Different proportions of spiritual time. Spiritual matter is okay. Spiritual space and the spiritual energy, spiritual form. Different type of spiritual matter. We come here now to math. Xt yx times z e is equal to virus, spiritual substance. Virus, spiritual substance. All the different space of the spiritual universes consist of the different proportion of this light substance through different proportion of time and space and matter. In a similar manner, natural light, photons, natural light, it can appear, but spiritual light, it can't appear. Spiritual light live into a being, while physical light is photons, is something that you can see. But spiritual light is a light that you can't see with your physical eyes. Am I talking to somebody there? Then we come in. Has three property of frequency related to spiritual frequency, energy or vibration of your length related to the spiritual space, and physical time dimension related to spiritual time. For this reason, some aspect of God creation are completely invisible to inhabitant of spiritual world, made from other proportion of the spiritual substance of time, space, and energy. Spirit created by God progress in their growth through their creation space, experiencing the different dimension and beauty of God's creation. It was God pure creation. The life of the spirit are not dependent on the spiritual substance of time and energy of their solar system or galaxies, but rather their lives come from God. So we don't depend. It was only Father who traveled, who brought up gnostic. If you gnostic, you know what I'm talking about, which is traditional. So it was a man who depended on the sun. He was going down to the sun, to the moon, or to the sun, to the stars, all these things. But us, we depend on God. So all of us, we depend on God, who is the creator of heaven and earth. Jehovah El Shaddai, Jehovah Nissi. He is the one who we depend on. We don't depend on sun or all these things, guys, they are doing. Are you getting me? Then we come in. Directly. Okay, it was coming from God directly, our help, but they are manifest from take on their substance of the respective world, solar system or galaxy in which they will first given life. Their form changing from glory to glory as they progress in their walk with God through the various spaces. Have you ever discovered that internet was there? Before, there are some areas where we find internet, where we find network, where network being found. So what about this network tower? Why the people they brought a network tower? Why this network tower, they just didn't brought up like internet? Because there are some area where they detect what? They detect network in time and space, and all these things, they work together. There are some areas, some from galaxies miles away, where we find network, but internet was already there. Internet, it was something that has been created, and everybody add Google this one, add whatever channel, me I add my channel, all these things. Are you getting me? Before the satellite is not the one. Satellite is a human being who did it, who created all these things. But network, the network which you call it internet, the word internet, it was from the spiritual. It was from here. Here, this book contained mathematics. It contained mathematics, physics, all geography, all the subjects that the kids know. Now they took theory. They changed it to theory. But they changed it to counterfeit. They want to confuse the children of God, how the human being been created. That is why a lot of people, they make this teaching that they've been taught in school, that before the human being been created, there was first monkeys. All these things. It was theory. It was taken from here. They change it. They make ours to be fake and make themselves to be original. So open your eyes. So then it comes here. It says, the physical plane is like one aspect of the proportion of the distribution and combination of spiritual light, substance of time, space, and energy. Then we come here. Imagine the different wavelength of light as different combination of spiritual matter, spiritual time, spiritual space, and spiritual energy. And that physical matter is only one way length of the manifestation, like between all the colors from infra, land plus the 7 visible color. They are invisible colors that is, as I just told you. They are invisible colors that even as we don't know. That is why a person, when before you begin to prophesy, you begin to see object, but no image. So Prophetic, it begins with matureness. Stage from glory to glory to glory. There are some things, even us, there are some things we can't see. And there are some things God cannot show us. And there are some things God can show us. There are levels and levels. You finish the level, then you go to the first dimension. You go to the second dimension. The third one, you finish the record. It's where you begin to hear names, audience. God cannot just appear to you and begin to speak to you like that direct. Imagine, when we go to the Old Testament, God was just speaking to Moses and tell the people, oh, everyone should be in the tent, should not come out of the tent. Because it's for matureness. It's not required for kids. Everyone was trained with fear when Moses went to the mountain to see God. And God told them, nobody should allow it to go to the mountain, to touch or to cut any animal, allow it to be killed. Or someone who appear to the mountain will be killed. Why? God is a God of honor. It's not just a God that you just rush and start. You want everything to just pressure like that to begin to be like happening in the hurry or something like this. Everything's taking stage, something like this. You have to go into levels until it's like milk until you get 2 bones. So like my spiritual father, me, I believe in major one. I believe in major one. He's a real man of God. He's my spiritual father. And I love him so much. He's a man that you can see he is like his life, it didn't start it now. It was like a program. A man of God was being programmed by God. God can never allow you to program your calling. No matter you try to do things in the rush, like other minister of God, you can't just rush opening the ministry like that. That is why us, we find ourselves, God is not involved in every matter. That is why my father, as I'm seeing everything is going so perfect, everything was prepared by God. I'm telling you, and glory to be God, because God is moving and using my grandfather and my father, Major One, and my grandpa, Angel. It's the people that I believe so much that God has been using them and is using them. I'm telling you the truth. And as I'm telling you, children of God, like young minister, youth, this video is like for you. It's going straight to the youth. We need to study. We need to study more to the word, to get bold, to get closer to God. No matter how it requires. That's why there are no ages in the spiritual realm. There are no what? Ages in the spiritual realm. Somebody can be old. The reason why God can never open and show and appear to somebody like that and show the person these things is because somebody is not get closer and it's like you are not interested. It requires the desires of what you desire. Are you getting me? So, I want to continue. Of course, even this lighter dimension, when compared with the higher sphere of glory, are heavy. Imagine that there are countless others. Okay, I was here that I was telling you about. Okay, the colors that are invisible, there are only 7. Visible colors, there are only 7 of the rainbow to ultraviolet, and only being able to see just one color. What we physically see is only like one wavelength of this marvelous combination of possible millions of dimensions of spiritual substance of matter. You know, like 7 colors. If it could be spiritual colors, you can't see all these 7 colors, because it's like you can see only one. This one, you can't compare the 7 colors that we have in the physical realm. But in the spiritual realm, 7 colors into spiritual colors. So it's like it's like you're filling in bottles in, let me say, in the whole containers, you're filling in water. You know, this glass of water, you have to fill in this water, you have to fill in until you fill in into the tank That is how the color, spiritual colors are like that. That we can see with our physical eyes. Are you getting me? Somebody. Then we come here. I want to tell you something that somebody gonna love it. What we physically see is only like one wavelength of memories, which I have just told you. Okay. When a human dies, they only live behind the physical dimension. But their life continue clothed in lighter dimension of this spiritual matter. Lighter comparison to physical materials. When a human being die, they only live behind what? Physical dimension. Because you are behind the physical dimension, unseen. We can't see you anymore. But spiritual, the person is still living. That's why they say, spirit can never die, but your flesh can die. Mind, you know, when they are talking about holiness, when they are teaching about holiness, and here the sin, a man who died in sin, okay, a man who died in sin, a man who died in holiness, is a man who seeks God's glory. You know, not everyone goes to heaven, my dear people. Not everyone. There is life after. That is what they say. No matter they went on the graveyard, rest in peace, nobody rests in peace. That is why some people, again, we are seeing them, they are appearing in our dreams. And not everyone that appear in our dreams are demons. Or why? Maybe spirit of death. Like people, every man of God. I hear a lot of people interpreting dreams. I dream of somebody just died, but I was together with him. It was not like death hunting you. It was not a demon. No, the person is still living. Or somebody died in sin. If it was a man of God, then you are still dreaming about him. This one, God can appear through Elijah, can appear through his servant. Still, the spirit, the anointing is contained in where? In the bones. Anointing can never die. The spirit of the human being can never die. But the flesh can disappear. Okay, then we come in. Of course, even this lighter dimension, when you come in, okay, I have already told you how when somebody dies, everybody, or something like this. This one you understand. Of course, even this lighter dimension, when you compare with the lighter, the highest sphere of glory are heavy. Imagine that there are countless others higher in glory, and you can imagine how heavy the earth sphere must seem to spirit who are from God's highest throne. As a spirit grows in glory through the spirit, they take on the lighter spiritual substance of the highest sphere. The moment you push in prayers, they are like it's like a stigma system, like an ovary. It's like you give birth. You attract the light attracts you. The moment you become to be spiritual, you begin to take over all these dimensions. And it's very easier for you to manipulate those who are in the lowest realm. That is why wherever you go, you apply for a job, you've been accepted. When you pray for somebody has been healed. When you touch, anything that you touch is blessed. Because you're already done with it. Now you are living as a free person. You are now more like a bondage, like in bondage, like how people they are living into sin, or something is pulling you here and there. I was wishing that if we knew that how many people they are having problems, then if we found somebody is having a problem behind, let the smoke come out from that person who is moving in the street. Many people, they have smoke that is coming out from their behind. Are you getting what I mean? So you have to understand this. That is a spirit from the higher sphere, can be visible to those who of the lower sphere. But the spirit of the lower sphere are always visible to the spirit in the higher sphere. When the higher spirit visit the lower sphere, they take on the substance of the lower sphere. And when a lower sphere spirit visit the higher sphere, they are temporarily sheltered with covering so that they won't feel uncomfortable in the greatness of the like a substance of the highest glory. You know, the moment I enter the place, I mean, when a man of God who is in this dimension, when he entered the building, he began to shake. The place began to take over. Those who are in the lowest way, when they visited this shower of light, they begin to fall because they can't control the power. They can't control the light. Are you getting me? It's like something which is sharpened in their bones. Are you getting it? And it control. It goes straight to the bones, and it's like paralyze the human system. It goes straight in the human system, and which you call it, the person is under the power of God, which there was no anointing, but it was the energy, it was the vibration, the space. Are you getting me? The atom space, the spiritual energy which just take place there. And it came with the light. It shocked the system of those who are still in the lowest sphere. Maybe somebody is getting me what I mean here. God dimension, when God dimension appear, it comes in the spiritual dimension. Then it comes into the ethereal dimension or astral. Okay, now we have God here. We have God and Satan. Now, end of God, the dimension of God. It emanates, it goes through spiritual dimension. Spiritual dimension of a human being, or spirit to animal, or a plane. Are you getting me? Then from there we come here. We come here. Then we enter into the ethereal. Ethereal is where, now we are talking, ethereal is when we are talking about the transportation of a child of God when they are moving. Astral is when a man, I mean, these things of Satanism, how people they travel, all these things, they travel by astral dimension. These are the two dimensions that people they travel into. Somebody who doesn't travel in the transportation is somebody who can't prophesy. But they travel through dreams. They see through dreams, but they can't see something which clear. Then we come to physical substance. Now the things it begin to manifest, it to begin to appear. It begin to appear in the what? In the physical brain. Material dimension. Then it enter into object. It go in and come out. God exists outside of all time, space and energy. It's a dimension and realm beyond all our understanding. God is not there. The moment the shocking, the moment the earthquake take place in the church, God is not there. A lot of people they say, "Oh wow, God is in this place." It was not. God is not there. Are you getting it? This one? God, they said God is not exist. God is exact. He is outside of all time. God is just watching. Are you getting? He gives us the power. The Holy Spirit is there. He gives us the power. He gives us the power to monitor everything that's surrounding us. Outside, God exists outside of all time, space, and energy. It's a dimension and realm. It was only a realm, but God is not there. Beyond all our understanding, it was beyond all our understanding. Somebody say, God is not in heaven. You will never find God, no matter you search. How many psychologists they try to find God place? Pharaoh even tried to travel. He wanted to reach God. He was a witch doctor who was crazy, stubborn man, but he never reached God. The man who studied all these things of traditional gymnastics is a man who traveled. He wanted to see God, but he can never. You from? It's a job. Then they say, the spiritual dimension consists of all the spiritual sphere in the various state of glory. The highest spiritual sphere are sublime and lighter waste. The lowest spiritual sphere are less glorious but still made up of spiritual substance. The ethereal astral or astral dimension is separated from the spiritual dimension in the spiritual substance dimension shift ethereal particles before the material dimension of physical. Children of God, I just want to say thank you for watching me. God bless you. It was a teaching by Responsible. Next time, remain connected so you should be protected. I pray for you May your eyes be open to this dimension in the mighty name of Jesus. I hope this teaching is encouraging somebody and is just comforting somebody there out there. May God bless you. Shalom.